Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Red True Crime. I am your host, Rebecca, and this is our 2025 recap for the year. So sit down, relax. It's going to be a long one. Thank you again for tuning in. So, tonight we are going to cover a good many of the cases I have discussed on this channel for the year of 2025. Since tomorrow is New Year's Eve, I thought I'd take this time tonight and go over what we have uncovered, what we've discussed, what we've presented to you all on here. So, if I'm looking down a lot, it's because I'm looking at my notes because this is a lot. So, we are going to start off with the case of Kamani Latig. Now, those of you who don't remember who Kamani Latig is, she is the 13-year-old girl who was abducted, and I'm not even sure what YouTube even allows anymore, what word, but she was abducted, assaulted sexually, um, and eventually um, snuffed out by her own father, Darnell Jones. Now, this particular case happened in Toledo, Ohio, Lucas County, and at first it started off as a missing child case, but she was found in an abandoned building not far from where she was taken. And her father was captured in Columbus, Ohio, and he attempted to do a self-deletion by cop. And that was all on camera. And we've talked about this. I even showed that footage at that time when all this went on. Back in when was this again? This was trying to remember when all this happened. Oh, it happened a while ago. So the update is Darnell Jones is now claiming mental illness. So team, his defense team is trying to, get more evaluations done because as it stands now, he is eligible for the death penalty in Ohio, which they have not used in over 10 years. Now, he has been charged with kidnapping, MURDER, RAPE, gross abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, endangering two children because there was an altercation between his girlfriend and her kids, and aggravated burglary. That is all what he is being charged with right now. His next court date is April 20th, 2026. So that is when we're going to start getting into the actual trial of what he has done to Kamani Latig. And they're starting with jury selection, but they're not expecting actual trial to start to probably later in the summer. But this is where we're at. They did a mental evaluation around December 8th, but nothing has come back yet. And the judge is refusing to take the death penalty off the table right now until all that comes back. So it's possible he could go down for guilty by reason of mental defect or not guilty by reason of mental defect or guilty with all his faculties. And, he could get I believe they have the gas chamber in Ohio, but I don't remember. Okay, so our next case is gonna be the unfortunate case of one Dakara Thompson. Now this young lady, oh goodness, this was a bad one. See, here's my notebook. Okay. So she went missing August 23rd of this year. Uh, Went out, told her father she was going to get gas and that she'd be back home soon. And you see her on a surveillance footage parking her car and walking down the street, not in distress, nothing, but she had left her phone and she had left her, I think, purse in the car. And down that street was a club, which is where her perpetrator, the person accused of killing her, one Hugo, where is he? Hernandez Mendez, is being charged with, let's see, common law murder, tampering with physical evidence, and burying and disposing of a body in an unauthorized place. Now, witnesses, his roommates, Hugo's roommates, reported that he came back with a woman and they heard uncomfortable, intimate sounds. And they said it made it sound like the person that was in there with him was not enjoying themselves. So I don't know if she was struggling. I'm not sure exactly what she was doing, but that is what he's being charged with. So his next, let's see, this is in Prince George County, Maryland, and have not really said what the cause of death was, but she was beaten severely. She had suffered severe skull and facial fractures on her face, and she was found thrown off a bridge um, by the water. So, and they've actually put him in general population. So, how he has not been hurt or actually taken out, I have no idea. But his trial is set for March of 2026. So once that is set, then we will move on from there. So I will update that as more information comes. Let me see here. Give me a second. Nope, I don't want that. Okay. So next we're going to go to this one upsets me so much. This is one Kata Scott. She was a former Miss Philadelphia. She was a Miss USA hopeful. And this poor thing was lured out of her job by a text message and was kidnapped, executed by one Keon King. Now, Keon King, let's see. I don't want that one. There we go. Keon, let's see, she went missing October 4th, and her body was found October 18th in a shallow grave behind Ada Lewis Middle School in Philadelphia with a gunshot to the head. So that was what they deemed execution style. Now he has been charged, Keon King has been charged with murder, robbery, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, arson, kidnapping, and he is not set for bail. Now, what was more controversial with this particular case is that this gentleman, Keon King, had already been accused of strangling another woman, and that case kind of got dismissed or kind of got ignored. But they have now refiled those charges. So he's also got those charges to deal with from the other woman. Um, the other thing too was he had this high profile lawyer named Shaka Johnson there in Philadelphia, and this guy, people were really mad. They had gotten a petition together to get him to stop representing Keon King, and the guy flat out refused. But now, as of today, or well, as of today, as I'm looking at this, Shaka Johnson has stepped down, and Keon King has hired a new attorney. So right now, his next court hearing is February 2nd, 2026, and it's a preliminary hearing. So that is what we're doing with that. And I said, that poor girl, I mean, she did not even know. It's just awful what happened to her. It really is. So now let's get to Mr. Larry Burton. Larry Burton, gentleman who wandered away from a nursing facility or home health facility here in Greensboro back on July 2nd of this year. To date, he still has not been found. And what's concerning is at the time when he left, now he'd only been there a couple of days and he just left. There was nobody watching him. And he suffered from, dementia and, he had a catheter in him and there were so many other health issues going on. He's 74 years old. And you find out after he goes missing, people start investigating. You find out the home care facility he was in was not licensed. What's more upsetting is the woman who owns the facility. She was charged with operating a facility without a license. Okay. But he still has not been found. Who's going to be held accountable for him missing? Is it going to be her? Or is it you know, are the family gonna have to sue her? Because all she gets is a fine, a $500 fine. That's it. That's only we don't know where he is. So, that is the biggest miscarriage of justice, in my opinion, because we still don't know where he is. I don't think the outcome for him is going to be good because it's been almost 6 months with no sign of him, and right around the time when he went missing, we were under a massive heat wave, massive, and then immediately after that heat wave, we had massive storms and flooding all in the area where he went missing. So I just hope to God they find him, you know, soon. All right. So, let me see here. Oh, yeah, the infamous Diddy trial. Hmm. Yeah, that was an interesting case. I talked about that. He got what is it, like 50 months? That's here's my thing. He got 50 months. Okay, fine. You gave him 50 months. He's doing even more time. Wonderful. But in however, more people should have been arrested and charged in this whole thing, and that just didn't happen. So I am very disappointed in how the federal government handled this case and handled this trial because they could have done better. They did not interview or question or depose the correct people, in my opinion. So many people should have been on that stand, if not charged, and they didn't do that. So I think this is a miscarriage of justice. I think he should have gotten more time, and I think more people should have gone down with him. That's what I think on that. Oh, goodness. Let's see. Where else are we at today? Bear with me just a moment. I got to add. Okay. Did her. Marie Jones. Another very sad situation. So, Marie Jones is a 5-year-old girl who was kidnapped, assaulted, and left for dead in the Cleveland, Ohio area. This happened in September 13th. And the only reason why this case has made so much headlines is because the mother went to social media saying, "This happened to my child," and there's been nothing. And of course, it gets picked up. And then, people like me and everybody else who does this type of thing started talking about it. We really did because this is horrible. And then you find out that the perpetrators who did this to this child are 8, 9, and 10 years old. 2 of them are boys, the 10-year-old is a girl. And then more details start coming out. They had ripped this child's hair from her head. They had beat her. They had strangled her. They had sexually assaulted her. They had peed on her. Um, they had even shoved things up in her. And they thought she was dead and they just left her there. And then people found her and, she's alive, thank God, but she's autistic, so only God only knows what psychological trauma this child is facing for the rest of her life because she's 5 years old. So and I always in this case, when I found out about this case, I always said this was going to be a law-changing case in my opinion, because when word came out that these kids weren't going to get charged because of their age, all hell broke loose. And now they are being charged. Um, so in October of this year, they charged the 9-year-old boy and the 10-year-old girl with attempted murder, RAPE, felonious assault, kidnapping, and strangulation. As of now, a competency evaluation has been ordered for the 10-year-old girl. So, no word on when they're going back to court or anything because, again, this is a crazy, crazy case. We're never gonna hear the names of these kids because 'cause they're minors. Only reason we are hearing about, Omri Jones is because her mother put her name out there. But these other kids, we're not gonna hear anything about. Now, I did read somewhere where the 8-year-old is basically being given some type of immunity to testify against the 9 and the 10-year-old. All 3 kids are being involved with Department of Social Services because where do kids this young learn this type of behavior? This is insane, absolutely insane. And I think now because this something like this has happened, you're gonna hear more about laws changing about minors committing adult crimes and there's not gonna be an age limit on this because they're saying children under the age of 10 don't understand right from wrong, which I don't believe in that wholeheartedly. I think kids understand it way better than you think. But we'll see what happens with this. We really will. So, all right. So let's get to, and speaking of kids being bad, this is Corshanda Hatter. She is the Chicago mother who was beaten down by a group of children. Her and her 2 kids were all beaten by a group of unruly teenagers, kids aging between the ages of 10 to 13. One of these bad kids, videoed the whole thing and uploaded it to social media, which is how it all blew up and everybody found out about it. There were protests at the school from other people saying these kids need to be beat, shown a lesson, whatnot. And here's what's going on now. So she was attacked on November 17th, 2025. As of now, 7 of the kids have been charged from ages 10 to 13 with misdemeanor battery. Now, the mother, Korshanda Hatter here, is not happy with this. She thinks there should be stronger charges against them, but, they haven't done that. And they've been released to social services for therapy and whatnot. And here's my stance on that. I'm not opposed to the therapy. I think they should definitely put them on some type of behavior plan. And that if they don't continue with the services being provided, like the therapy and whatnot, and if they screw up again, I think they should get stronger consequences against them because this whole thing with children beating up adults like this, going crazy, has got to stop because this is not the only case. Like right after this, there was a case in Maryland where the same thing happened, where a mother and her daughter were getting attacked by a group of teenage girls. Like, what on earth is going on? And like I said, I look at the kids who try to commit murder, in Cleveland is the precursor to this, and you're seeing and hearing more and more cases of kids killing, going after adults, attacking. There was a case in Florida where a 10-year-old shot a woman because she and her mother, the woman and her mother were having an argument, and the 10-year-old went and got a gun and just shot her, killed the woman. Why did she think that was okay to go do that? I don't understand that at all. So that is that case. Let's see. Oh, Emmanuel Harrow. This was such an unfortunate case. So he went missing sometime in August of 2025. They really are not quite sure exactly when this child disappeared. And this was in, I believe, in the San Bernardino area of California. Mom and dad filed, a report saying that she was hit over the back of the head and the child was taken. They did interviews and whatnot, and child has to this date still has not been found, but mom and dad have both been arrested. We find out the father, Jake Harrow, has a history of abusing his children, where he beat another infant into severe disability. Child can't see, she can't take care of herself, she needs 24/7 care, these kind of things. And if you see some pictures of Emmanuel, you could look like he's got shaken baby syndrome personally. But Jake Harrow, has pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, um, assaulting a child resulting in death, and filing a police report. And he got 25 years to life plus 7 years for, like, some other minor stuff that he had going on, but they put it all together. So he's got roughly a combined 32 years. His wife, Rebecca Harrow, now she still maintains she's not guilty, and she's still in jail. Next court hearing is January 21st, 2026, and she was, let's see, did they yeah, they did she was accused of murder too, but I believe they've taken that off the table. But she is going through her court next month, so we'll hear more on that. Okay. Amber Shelton. Now, this is a case that started in 2024. She went missing December 9th, 2024. Her girlfriend at the time, mm, was telling police that, she had self-deletion ideations. and she walked out, leaving her phone, her wallet, an uncashed check for $1,200, but took her gun. Amber's body showed up in the Greensboro Arboretum about 3 months later. She washed up under a bridge, after we had some severe storms. Now, what ticks me off about this case is the medical examiner declared it self-deletion. I disagree. I completely disagree because, I saw her autopsy report, and where the gunshot the wounds were does not make sense for self-deletion. So, I think they did not wanna deal with this because it's a gay black woman, and, cops are just like, "Oh, whatever." That's my take. So does not have justice in my opinion. I think, she was, um, Murdered, and I think the girlfriend that she had at the time, a Sherry Mapp, and her husband, Kenneth Mapp, I think they're involved. But that's my 2 cents. I have no evidence of this, but it's just where my gut is going with that. So we are still trying to figure out what's gonna happen with her. Cecil Brockman, interesting little case here with him. So Cecil Brockman, is a local representative for the state of North Carolina. He's based out of High Point, not far from here, from me. Cecil Brockman was found to have a 15-year-old boy living with him, and there was a lot of video evidence on a phone showing a lot of sexual misconduct between the 2 of them. The boy went missing or he ran away, I'm not sure which you wanna call it. Cecil Brockman called 911, using his name and his position to get people to jump to it and find him, and, he was found, and that's when everybody found out Cecil Brockman's a pedophile. So, he got arrested and charged with 2 counts of statutory sex offense, 2 counts of indecent liberties with a child, and he got eventually out on a $250,000 bail. Now, he did have to resign his position as state representative, and, let's see, he goes back to court January 15th or January 16th of 2026, and he also states that the victim was 18. I don't know how much I believe that at all. So, we'll see what happens with that one. Let's see. Doo, doo, doo. We did bear with me just a moment, guys. I'm just adding a few more pictures because I'm limited as to how many pictures I can put on here at one time. So, we will go over these very soon. And we'll do that one. All right. So let me go back to this. Cover those. Okay. So let's get back to this one. Aisha Degree. Now, this is a case that's been ongoing since uh, Valentine's Day 2000. But for 2025, her case kind of blew up, more information, more evidence. So, what they have decided or what has been figured out through DNA testing, it led them to a potential suspect or suspects, the Dedmon family. That's there in Shelby, North Carolina. Now, you have couples, Roy and Connie Dedmon and their 2 daughters. They actually have 3, but 2 daughters they are claiming to be involved. And that is Lizzie and Anna Dedmon. So they found Aisha's backpack and they started running the DNA profiles, and it came back to, I believe, Anna Dedmon or Lizzie Dedmon, I'm not sure which one, and a person who Connie and Roy Dedmon had guardianship over, a Roy, and I can't remember his last name. Anyway, that guy is dead. He was a patient because the Dedmons were involved in a lot of nursing home type businesses. So there you have it. But the police have now come back and classified this case not so much as a missing person anymore, but a homicide. They believe that she was kidnapped and killed. They don't think but the story was that she was seen walking along the highway in the rain by 2 cars saying it was a small child walking. Now why nobody stopped and said anything, I have no idea. But that's what the story was, that she left of her own volition. I do believe that she may have been lured out, but it's gonna be hard to prove that. So, alright. TK Burton, another very unfortunate sad case. So, TK Burton went missing in July of 2020, was it 5 or 4? He went missing in July. Yeah, July 2025. They found him in September, and now we're just waiting on actually, he went missing in 2024, and then we've been waiting on a case to get going. So originally, Jacob Hill, who is the person who has been, charged with first-degree murder. Well, originally, they were supposed to do some type of trial this December. Well, they don't do court cases on Christmas Day. I just checked, now they've pushed it back to December of 2026. So, we'll see what happens. I do believe it'll be probably some court stuff will come up finally sometime in 2026, but they have not given an actual trial date on that yet. Randolph County kinda runs a little behind here. But the people who've been charged as accessories, they all go to court here in a couple weeks, so there'll be an update on that case. A lot of them have been charged with accessory after the fact, and different type of things like, hiding the gun, and threatening witnesses, intimidating people, keeping Jacob Hill hidden because he was missing for months. Nobody could find him, and then eventually he got found and arrested. So there's that one. And here's another one. Oh goodness. The case of Carmelo Anthony. Now, if you remember, Carmelo Anthony was, or well, he still is, at the time of this case, he was 17 years old, and he comes from Frisco, Texas. At a high school track meet, amongst other schools, he went into a tent for a school that he did not go to, and he got into an altercation with Austin Metcalf, which resulted in Austin Metcalf being stabbed in the heart and dying instantaneously. Carmelo has been charged with first-degree felony murder and, has been allowed to do online college courses at Morehouse. So, that's what he's been doing all this time while he's waiting on to go to trial for first-degree murder. And I cannot find my notes on that. Nope, nope. But, yeah, that's what's going on with him. So he, I believe, goes back to court here it is. Trial is set for June of 2026. So that is what's gonna happen there. But he's been attending Morehouse online. He has first-degree murder charges. I don't see how this guy is going to not go to prison. I'm being honest here. Because that entire thing where they were, their altercation, it did not warrant Austin Metcalf to be stabbed. It just didn't. So we are now dealing with that. Was it self-defense? Was it murder? But the grand jury found enough evidence in their purview to charge him with first-degree murder. So that is what he's being charged with. That is what they're gonna try him for. Either way, both families are changed forever because the Metcalfs will never have Austin come walking through the door, and the Anthonys are probably going to lose Carmelo to prison for quite some time. So I'll keep you updated as those updates pop up. So let's see. Rebecca Parks. Now, this was a little bit more recent case. So sad. And we all know Rebecca Parks went missing November 3rd of this year, found deceased in the Manistee National Forest in Michigan on November 25th, 2025. What's unfortunate about this poor case is she was 9 months pregnant when she went missing. and she was found, um, deceased, throat cut, and baby cut out of her womb. And they've arrested her mother and stepfather for killing and taking that baby, and the baby, of course, did not survive the trauma. So, Courtney Bartholomew and Bradley Bartholomew are now being held without bond in a Michigan jail, being charged with first-degree murder, felony murder, conspiracy, torture, unlawful imprisonment, and no bond. They go back to court on January 13th for a probable cause hearing. So, and then we have, let me see here, add this one in. So I'm gonna have to come back and do more of these because there's just so many I've covered this year. So now we come to the unfortunate case of Camilla, and I can't remember the rest of her name. Camilla Mendoza Olmos. She went missing Christmas Eve morning this year. Reports have come out today that a body of a woman has been found not far from the Olmos house. And they are saying tentatively that it is Camilla. This is in Bexar County, Texas. And they're saying that the body matches her, but they have not identified it as her right now. But they are saying that there's no foul play and that they did find that she had some self-deletion ideations and had some undiagnosed depression issues that may have been part of her disappearance. So it's unfortunate. I feel for this family and beautiful girl. I cannot even imagine what they're going through right now. I can't. Mental health is a real thing, everybody, and everybody deals with things differently. Not everybody can handle stress and pressure and whatnot. And if you have problems, you should see somebody about this, or you feel a certain kind of way, you should see somebody about this. So, um, like I said, they have not officially stated it's her, but they're leaning towards that right now. They're saying, it's not far from the house and it's not foul play. And, they're saying everything that it's her without saying it's her. So I'm sure we'll find something out here in the next 24 to 48 hours that it's her. So there you have it. There's our big case roundup for 2025. And like I said, I've got several more I could go into, but we've already gone over 30 minutes on this. So I don't want to have anybody like wear out on this. So I am going to hop off here. And I just do want to say, everybody keep safe. You see something, say something. Um, keep your head on a swivel. Be weird, be rude, be safe. All the things I say. Because it is real out there. There are predators, male and female. There are predators out there, and sometimes you're your own predator. So if you are struggling with depression and anxiety and mental health, please call somebody. There's apps now where you can just text somebody, and they will talk to you. I've done it myself, because I have struggled. I have been stressed. I have felt overwhelmed, and I have had that need to reach out and watch and talk and text and whatever. It helps center you. But it's not, if you have major depression issues that have not been diagnosed, go see somebody. Because if you're feeling sad all the time and you can't explain why, go see somebody. I really, really want you to see somebody. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hopefully 2026 is less gruesome. So, this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. I'm going to hop off here, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Bye.